If you walk in 2026 with the same thoughts, the same fears, the same postponements, it won't be a new year. It will be the same story, just with a different number on the calendar. The supermoon in Gemini isn't here to make your life magical. It's here to show you without sugarcoating what is draining your mind, your health, and your peace. Let me tell you directly, if you treat this moment like just another spiritual video playing in the background, you will stay exactly where you are. But if you stay with me until the end and do the rituals we talk about here, you won't just feel the full moon energy. You'll finally feel your mind emptying out the chaos, your body calming down, your breath changing, and clarity rising in front of you about who you are and what you refuse to carry in into 2026. So this isn't just a recording, this is a confrontation with yourself, because the truth is simple and it might sting. You're not stuck because the universe isn't sending signs. You're stuck because you haven't closed what needed to be closed. And this full moon in Gemini, super full moon in Gemini, brings all of that to the surface. The thoughts that won't let you sleep, the stories that keep repeating, the relationships that already taught their lesson, the promises you made to yourself and broke. So if you want a healthier, more abundant, clearer 2026, you don't start on January 1st. You start here, right now. So in the next hour, maybe, I don't know, maybe less, I'll show you 7 rituals that have nothing to do with instant magic and everything to do with how your mind works, your nervous system, your decisions, your boundaries, your direction. I'm not promising that money will rain from the sky after this, but I can promise something far more important. If you do them honestly, you won't be able to lie to yourself that you are the same person as you were before. So ask yourself right now before you go further, do I truly want to live the same life in 2026? If the answer is no, stay here, because what comes next may be the most uncomfortable but also the most important video you watch before the new year begins. On December 4th, the moon doesn't just touch the sky, it breathes inside us. It's a supermoon in Gemini, and it's not just an astronomical event, it's a moment where the mind cleans house, truth rises, and the things that you've been avoiding demand to be released. So let's start with the first truth about this supermoon in Gemini and why your mind feels so heavy. The light is intense this month, and it's not because it wants to impress you, but so you can no longer hide what you've been avoiding. Now let's understand why. Let's talk about a little bit what is the cold moon. The full moon in December, sorry, 1 second, my apologies. The full moon in December is traditionally called the cold moon, not just because temperatures drop, but because nature enters a phase of conservation, silence, and internal rebuilding. This isn't a moon of expansion or celebration, it is a moon that slows the rhythm, turns you inward, brings exhaustion to the surface, shows you what needs to die so you can grow. This is the end of a cycle, not the beginning. It's an audit, not a promise. This moon doesn't ask you to dream bigger, it asks you to be honest about what you can't, what you cannot continue any longer. The intense light in this period doesn't exist to create mystery or aesthetic vibes. It exposes what you've been sweeping under the rug. It's the moment where you cannot hide from yourself anymore. The cold moon doesn't reflect winter only in nature, but also in the psyche, a season where life retracts inward to conserve energy and prepare for rebirth. Nature freezes not to die, but to reconfigure, and you are doing the same. Now, why this moon may feel heavy? Well, this moon doesn't activate dreams, manifestation energy like the others, or emotional catharsis like other signs. It activates stagnation, truth, endings, mental clarity, emotional exhaustion that demands closure. And it asks not what do you want next, but what needs to end before next begins. And why does it matter so much that this is a supermoon? Not because of magic, but because of biology and psychology. Stronger light disrupts sleep, my apologies. Subconscious rises to the surface. Circadian rhythm shifts, so restlessness increases. The nervous system becomes more alert, meaning thoughts get louder. The body demands new patterns. It doesn't damage your energy, it increases visibility. A full moon that is also supermoon isn't powerful because of mystical forces, so, but because it is physically closer to Earth and emits stronger light. That stronger light creates real effects. Sleep becomes lighter or interrupted. Emotional sensitivity increases. The mind becomes more active and less filtered. Old mental loops rise to the surface. So, yeah, it doesn't mean the moon messes you up. It means it brings up what you haven't processed. It is exposure, not chaos. What is the biology behind the shift? The pineal gland responds directly to changes in light. So when moonlight is stronger, melatonin drops, which means deep rest becomes harder. The nervous system stays partially online constantly. Thoughts don't fully shut down, and emotional processing is incomplete. The result? You feel everything so much louder. And not because you're unstable, but because your mind is currently unmasked. Now, why it matters so much that it's in Gemini? Because Gemini is not about emotions like Cancer. It's not about identity like Leo. It's not about emotional depth like Scorpio. Gemini is the mind, fast thoughts, unfinished conversations, accumulated mental information, the need for clarity, the split between two directions, delay decisions because you see too many options at once. So, no, this isn't a moment for manifesting. It's a moment for choosing, for clarifying, for cutting the mental threads that keep you attached to the old story. In Gemini, healing doesn't come through emotional release, it comes through focus, logic, truth, and mental closure. Unlike the emotional field of Cancer, the identity driven fire of Leo or the deep shadow work of Scorpio, Gemini rules the realm of thought and communication. So, this period brings forward fast shifting thoughts, conversations left hanging, information overload, a hunger for clarity, duality between multiple truths, analysis paralysis from too many possibilities. It's not a time to dream, but it is a time to decide, to close mental loops, to stop the internal dialogue, and to choose a direction. Gemini demands alignment between what you say and what you do. So, as I mentioned before, what you may feel in your body and mind during this supermoon, restless sleep, overthinking, mental hyperactivity, replaying conversations in your head over and over and over again, the urge to say something or to close something, tension. You may feel tension in chest and throat, maybe sudden clarity after long stagnation, mini identity crisis, like who am I now? And if you feel this, you are not unstable, you're in mental recalibration. So this moon doesn't ask you what do you want to attract, but what part of your mind needs to die before 2026. And this could be anything from the critical voice and outdated identity, fear of expressing yourself, silence used as self-protection, procrastination, saying one thing but doing another, attachment to the past. This moon doesn't ask for expansion, it asks for release. Why your body reacts so much to this full moon? For thousands of years, humans used the moon not for aesthetics but as a biological rhythm. For example, agriculture, sleep patterns, tides and navigation, religious cycles, seasonal timing. The body regulates itself based on light, day, night, seasons, solstices, and yes, most important, lunar phases. The pineal gland senses light and produces melatonin, the hormone responsible for sleep, for cellular repair, for calming the nervous system. So during a supermoon, melatonin decreases, sleep becomes shallow, emotional processing is interrupted, thoughts intensify, the body stays in constant alert. No, it's not mysticism, it's light, nerves, and biology. And why this full moon targets the mind? Well, each full moon activates a different part of life depending on the zodiac sign. This one is in Gemini, which governs the nervous system, which is information plus impulses plus quick reactions, the breath, the breathing, internal rhythm plus anxiety versus clarity, communication and decisions, what we say versus what we hold in. This moon is not for calling things in, it is for separating truth from confusion, mental purification and not manifestation. What becomes visible during this supermoon? Well, no new problems appear. What rises is what you've been avoiding, like unfinished conversation, repetitive thoughts, indecision, internal conflict, versions of yourself that evolve but never integrated. It's Think of it like a ram purge for your mind. That's the best thing I can think of. When the body doesn't enter sleep, emotions don't get processed. That's why a lot of people feel bad during this period. When the mind doesn't calm, old mental loops intensify. The supermoon isn't sabotaging your life, it's exposing where you're unaligned. So it's not the moon changes you, it's that the moon lights up what needs to change. And in Gemini, that change happens in the mind, in speech, in communication, in decisions. So if you are ready, if you hopefully understood this explanation, let's start with the first ritual. Which it's this first ritual, it's about mental dumping, final burning. What I want you to do, I want you to write down unresolved thoughts, unfinished conversations, unprocessed fears, and avoided decisions. Then I want you to burn or tear the paper to close that mental cycle. You don't write to manifest, you write to remove information from your mind and to externalize it. Now, what happens in the body and mind? Psychological and biological. The mind treats unfinished thoughts as urgent tasks. When something is not written and not closed, mental tension rises. The Prefrontal cortex burns extra energy. You can't rest. Thoughts loop endlessly. Now, by writing it down, moves information from active memory into external memory, reduces cognitive overload, interrupts rumination, calms the nervous system. So, this is mental discharge, not emotional catharsis. Burning symbolically closes the cycle and moves information into the past instead of active reality. So energy stops being trapped in what wasn't said and returns to the present. Now, why it works so well, especially in Gemini, because as I mentioned before, Gemini rules fast thinking, multiple options, unfinished conversations, mental overload, and duality. This moon amplifies mental noise if you don't discharge it. So Gemini doesn't ask for emotional release, it asks for mental resolution. What changes after this ritual? You may experience deeper sleep, clarity on what matters, fewer repetitive thoughts, decisions become easier and calmer. And if you don't do it, you stay stuck in overthinking, in obsessions for answer. The obsession for answers grows, intensifies, and you drag mental loops in 2026. Now, let's move on to ritual number 2, which is water for mental clarity. This is your programming and reset. For this ritual, what I want you to do is pour water into a clear glass. Make sure it's glass, not plastic, please. Keep it beside you in the light, not necessarily moonlight, and set an intention. I choose clarity, I release confusion, I hear my mind clearly. And then drink it in the morning before any external stimulus, like before any phone calls, news, social media, before anything. What happens in the body and mind when you do this? Remember, water doesn't turn magical, but what happens is your speaking intention organizes mental direction, activates prioritization in the frontal lobe. The ritual acts as a daily anchor. The mind recognizes the moment of returning to presence. Hydration boosts brain function, like synaptic activity improves, your nervous system stabilizes, and intent becomes embodied, not conceptual. This is somatic programming, not wishful thinking. The body responds symbolically to what you bring into it. The ritual becomes a repeated energetic anchor. You're not changing the water, you're changing yourself through the act itself. Why it works so well under Gemini Supermoon? Well, because Gemini rules mental clarity, communication, mind body, nervous system, breath, and cognitive processing. So this moon asks, what do you want to understand? And the ritual aligns cognition with embodiment. What changes after this ritual? More grounded mornings, reduced anxiety, clearer decisions, intention leads the day instead of external noise. But if you skip this ritual, you wake up in default mode. Mind enters chaos from the phone, body triggers alertness, decisions become reaction, not choices. So it's a very important ritual. In the third ritual, we will be cutting mental threads. What to do in this ritual? I want you to sit upright, to breathe slowly, and to visualize threads connecting you to, for example, people whose validation you seek, old identities, unfinished conversations, repeated internal scenarios, obligations that no longer belong to you. Just a few. Add whatever you want to add here. On the exhale, slice the air with your hand and say, I take my energy back. I return to present. So please keep in mind this is not about cutting people out. It's about ending the mental roles you no longer play. What happens in body and mind when you do this ritual? Unfinished emotional events, they store as active tasks, not memories. With this creates rumination, delayed reactions, phantom conversation, anxiety, right? A physical gesture signals completion to the nervous system. If you don't close with the body, the mind keeps it open. These threats are not mystical chords, they are unconscious agreements, identity loops, channels of attention, places where energy leaks. Cutting the thread equals ending the drain. Now, why it works so well in Gemini? Because Gemini amplifies duality, mental loops, attachment to all narratives, indecision, overthinking. If you don't close cycles, Gemini splits your energy into two lives at once. If you do, clarity returns. What changes after this ritual? Chest and throat relax. Mental noise stops repeating. Decisions feel lighter. Creative energy returns. Guilt fades. Now, if you skip this ritual, the mental loops continue. Past pulls you backward, confusion persists, old roles reactivate. So, this ritual now isn't about people, it's about your old self. If you're ready, let's continue with ritual number 4, which is about breathing. It's about breath reset for the mind, nervous system plus clarity. What I want you to do in this ritual is sit upright, relax your shoulders, and breathe. Inhale through nose 4 seconds. Hold 2 seconds. And exhale 8 to 10 seconds. Repeat this for 7 times. And on each exhale, think, I release tension. I invite in clarity. Slow, silent control. Not straining. Now, please save this video, add it to your playlist, and keep coming back to these rituals every single time you feel like it. What happens to your body, in your body and mind when you do this ritual? Long exhales activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Heart rate slows down. Cortisol decreases. Brain returns to coherence. This dissolves anxiety, the mental spirals, the shallow breathing, stress loops, and you shift from alert to present. As energetic effect, breath frees mental energy stored in chest and in the throat. Long exhale cuts the link between thought, emotional reaction, and moves you into observation. Now, why it works so well in Gemini? As you know, Gemini equals air plus nervous system plus communication between brain and body. In a Gemini supermoon, shallow breath amplifies anxiety, and deep breath amplifies clarity. So, breath is the portal. What changes after you do this ritual? You calm your mind, grounded body, fewer impulsive reactions, thoughts lose emotional charge. But if you skip it, shallow breath keeps mind in defense mode. This moon becomes draining instead of transformative. Decisions come from tension and not from clarity. There's a difference between feeling the energy and using the energy. Very important. We are moving forward to ritual number 5, which is about clearing communication and unspoken words. This is about closure, alignment, and truth. What to do in this ritual? Identify a conversation you've been avoiding. For example, telling someone the truth, unspoken apologies, boundaries never expressed, ending a partnership, feelings you avoided, explaining things to yourself and not others. And choose the right format: real, calm conversation, written message, unsent letter when it's about your healing another person. The intention could be, for example, I don't hold inside what needs to be released through words. I do not hold inside what needs to be released through words. And remember, this isn't about drama or validation. This is about clarity and closure. What happens in the body and mind when you do this ritual? Unspoken truth keeps the nervous system activated, right? The body stores tension in your jaw, throat, diaphragm, chest, and the mind repeats imaginary dialogues and never finishes them. That could drive anyone insane. Silence teaches your body that it's not safe to speak. So, this creates anxiety, voice shaking, self doubt. When speaking truth, completes processing in the brain, relaxes chest and facial muscles, moves energy from hypothetical to real world. Communication is nervous system regulation. Very important. I wish everybody knew this. Communication is nervous system regulation. Words you don't express stay stored as blocked energy. Truth spoken equals energy circulates instead of compresses. You're not just saying something, you are releasing the identity afraid of being seen. Now, why it works so well in Gemini? Because Gemini governs speech, conscious communication, inner dialogue, decision expressed verbally, mental networks, the split between thought versus spoken truth. Here, blockages are verbal, not emotional. When you speak, the mind reorganizes. What changes after this ritual? Your chest unclenches, rumination stops, mental closure happens. You regain a sense of dignity. So, this ritual doesn't fix relationship, it heals the part of you that refuses to stay silent. But if you skip it, you enter 2026 with the same issues, with the same internal debate. The same internal debate stays alive. Mental duality persists. Social anxiety increases, and unspoken truth takes up more mental space. Silence doesn't erase truth, it expands it. It's time to let it go, to make room for better things up in there, in your brain, in your body, everywhere in your life. Let's continue to ritual number 6, which is about clearing objects that hold old identities. Remember that not all objects are objects. Some are psychological anchors that keep old versions of you alive. Maybe you knew this, maybe you didn't. Now, what I want you to do in this ritual, I want you to choose 3 to 7 items that no longer belong to your present. If you want to do more, by all means, the more objects you choose, the more room you can make. So, for example, clothes from all the eras of your life, donate them, sell them, gifts from past relationships, unfinished notebooks, plans, ideas, anything that it's unfinished, projects you keep just in case but are dead and you know it. Remove them physically, not just move them to a drawer, remove them from your space. Why it works psychologically? The mind uses objects as identity triggers. When you see something, the subconscious says, this is still who I am. So that keeps emotional attachment, loyalty to old roles, outdated identities, unfinished stories. Objects are shortcuts to old narratives. By removing them, you reduce subconscious triggers, creates space for a new identity. This is context-driven neuroplasticity. Sometimes transformation begins after cleaning a closet, not after meditation, believe it or not. And not because objects are magical, but because context shapes memory. Energetic mechanism without bullshit. You're not discarding energy, you're closing the circuit. Energy stops pulling you backward. It's physical cord cutting. Why it works so well in Gemini? Well, because Gemini equals mental direction. Physical environment influences mental pathways. If your space holds old stories, your mind lives in the past. Clearing the space means clearing the thoughts. Keep what makes you feel really good. Now, if you skip this ritual, you continue old patterns. Nothing feels new next year. Change stays theoretical, not embodied. Transformation is mental, it's the removal of all signals. And now let's continue to our last ritual for this super full moon. Ritual number 7 is about reconfiguring direction, choice plus closure. And remember, this is not manifestation, it's decision and realignment. What I want you to do in this ritual is to grab a pen and paper. And I want you to draw 2 columns. On the left, for example, write what continues in 2026, and to the right, what I leave behind. You can include here everything from relationship habits, social roles, projects, identities, beliefs, and whatever else you can think about or of. Then I want you to choose one concrete action that shifts your direction, not an intention, an action. For example, I stopped delaying my business. So I registered domain plus I create landing page. Okay. Or I stopped dragging dead relationship. Send final message plus close. Or I stopped financial sabotage. I apply to the job I keep postponing. So stop financial sabotage. Or I protect my energy and then set boundaries with X, Y, Z. Do this action within 7 days after the full moon or during the full moon. If you see this message before the full moon, you can also do it 7 days before the full moon. Remember, this is a super moon, so the energy is going to be extremely strong 7 days before, on the day, and 7 days after the full moon. Now, what happens in the body and mind when you do this ritual? The mind loves options and the body craves direction. When you don't choose, the nervous system stays tense. Parallel timelines run, simultaneously. Energy scatters. But when you choose to do this ritual, when you choose, anxiety drops, clarity increases, body shifts into orientation and not defense. This is neurological regulation through action. As energetic effect, as long as you don't choose, your energy splits between who you could be, who you were, who you are. Choice equals alignment. Remember that. You're not deciding the future, you're deleting paths that are no longer true. So choose, take action. Why it works so well in Gemini? Because Gemini equals duality, two directions, two identities, two lives. Without choice, energy fractures. With choice, it concentrates. This ritual closes duality. What changes after this ritual? Mind stops holding open tabs. Body relaxes into certainty. Decisions become effortless. And identity aligns with action. Energy becomes focused, not scattered. Not scattered, in other words. But if you skip this final ritual, you oscillate between two stories. The next year repeats the current year or the previous years, and nothing manifests because nothing is chosen. And mental space stays fragmented. Remember, duality equals stagnation disguised as options, and directions equals liberation. And if you've made it this far, congratulations. I cannot wait to hear from you. I'm not sure how many of you will see this video. If you liked it, of course, I would appreciate you subscribing, commenting. Let me know what you will leave in the past and how will you move into 2026. What energy you want to bring with you in 2026. And remember that the moon doesn't change your life, you do. The moon just illuminates the places where you lacked the courage to be honest. If you wrote, burned, cut, released, you can't go pretending you don't know. So don't return to the old story just because it's comfortable. Don't shrink to fit the person you used to be. Don't hold things that make you heavy when the truth is you want to be light. Maybe we don't know what 2026 will bring, but we know this. The version of you entering, it depends on what you release now, before you enter 2026. I mean, if you see this video in 2026, listen to it and still perform these rituals. These rituals work all the time. Transformation isn't what you attract, it's what you release to make space. So close your eyes and ask, what part of me is not coming with me in 2026? Because there lies the truth. Please don't leave this video just inspired. Leave this video now changed. A new you. You already have everything you need. The only thing left for you is to choose. If this resonated, comment, I close this chapter. Not for me, but for you. So it's written, so it becomes real. You cannot truly go back to who you were because you've tasted what it feels like to be honest with yourself. Every decision now holds a promise. No more postponing, no more living tomorrow when it needs to be done today. This moment is not poetic, it's a pivot. So close the old chapter with gratitude and open the new one with courage. This is the moment you stop rehearsing your life and you begin living it. Thank you for staying with me till the end. Sending you peace, light, sunlight, blessings. Until next one, take care of yourself. Bye bye.